Incredible love story. Black Maid's unexpected wedding to homeless man reveals shocking truth, discrimination, class struggles, and a love that defies all odds. Eleanor stood in the gleaming kitchen of the prestigious Oak Ridge Country Club, the air heavy with the aromas of rosemary and garlic. At 38, she had mastered the art of juggling the demands of a grueling work schedule and nurturing her 2 children. The shine of the silverware and the clink of fine china belied the realities of her life outside those grand walls. Each day, she donned her white apron like armor, facing the whispering judgment of the club's elite people who saw her as just a maid, nothing more. With her head held high and a warm smile on her face, she served them, pouring their drinks, wiping down counters, and listening to their tales of privilege, all while dreaming of a brighter future for her kids. Meanwhile, the streets just a few miles away told a different story. Marcus, a once proud war veteran now homeless, roamed the inner city blocks, haunted by memories of service that left scars deeper than any battlefield wound. Shuffling down the sidewalk, he sought odd jobs to regain a shred of dignity, each rejection reminding him of the societal bias that looked through him as if he were invisible. That was until fate led him to the shimmering doors of the country club, where he lingered as if caught in a dream. Their paths crossed on a day when the club buzzed with excitement over an upcoming gala. Eleanor was preparing the dining room when she noticed Marcus lingering by the back entrance. She couldn't help but feel a pull toward him. The way he stood there, raw and unfiltered, resonated with her own hidden struggles. With a spark of empathy, she approached him, a warm smile curling her lips, and offered him some work, perhaps to clean up after the gala days they spent time together. Something beautiful bloomed between them. Marcus listened to Eleanor's stories, and she found comfort in sharing her burdens with someone who truly seemed to understand. Their laughter became the soundtrack to their growing connection, and Eleanor felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a hope that perhaps love could flourish even in the unlikeliest of circumstances. But this bond was met with disdain from Eleanor's family, who frowned upon such a relationship. Words full of concern turned to thinly veiled judgments, pressing down on her like a weight she could hardly bear. Nonetheless, she found herself caught between loyalty to her family and the undeniable connection she felt with Marcus, a man who, beneath the surface, exuded a strength that filled her heart with warmth. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One evening, the county fair brought a welcome pause to their everyday struggles. Marcus seized the moment to share his service story, his voice strong yet tinged with vulnerability. As he spoke of courage, sacrifice, and the bitter taste of betrayal from a society that forgot to care, the crowd fell silent. Tears glistened in the eyes of some, and whispers transformed into thoughtful murmurs. Eleanor felt a swell of pride. Marcus was revealing the bravery that extended far beyond his uniform. But with this new understanding came an even bigger question: could love triumph where society had failed? As they planned an unexpected wedding, the threat of disapproval loomed larger than ever. Despite the dangers that waited beyond their joy, Eleanor stood at a crossroads. Would they brave the storms together, or shatter beneath the weight of judgment? The future remained uncertain, but beneath the clouds of doubt, her heart pounded with a promise of love that refused to fade away. Under the dim glow of twilight, Eleanor and Marcus sat on a weathered bench overlooking the county fair. The laughter of children echoed around them, their joy mingling with the warm scent of cotton candy and popcorn wafting through the breeze. But in that moment, Eleanor's heart raced, not from the festive atmosphere, but from the weight of an impending decision. "Are we really going to do this, Marcus?" she asked softly, searching his eyes for any hesitation. "I mean, get married?" Marcus turned to her, and for a brief moment, she could see the flicker of doubt in his deep-set eyes. He had been speechless, processing both the thrill and the fear all at once. Eleanor knew that for him, it wasn't just a wedding. It was everything that came with it, a chance to embrace love amidst unyielding prejudice. Eleanor, he began, his voice steady yet laced with emotion. I've faced battles with my own demons for years, but I've never faced anything as fierce as what I feel for you. That's worth fighting for. He paused, reaching for her hand, enveloping her fingers in his calloused palm. I want to build a life with you, no matter what anyone thinks. Her heart swelled with warmth, yet the gnawing voices of her family echoed in her mind. They would never approve. In their world filled with wealth and privilege, the fusion of their lives might resemble a dysfunction. And yet, Marcus represented a possibility, a future untethered from the past, a chance to rewrite wrongs. As she leaned against him, the vibrations of the nearby carnival rides reverberated in her chest. There was exhilaration in this moment, but also fear. The elation felt fragile, like a glittering bubble waiting to pop. What if they didn't make it? What if judgment ripped them apart? Can we do it? Can we really stand against the world together? Her voice trembled, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. Together, Marcus repeated, as if sealing their pact. We've each got our scars, but that just means our love will be deeper. He smiled, warmth igniting in his eyes. We're stronger than them. Compelled by his words, Eleanor felt a rush of courage surge through her. She realized that love could indeed rewrite the narrative of her life. It could strip away the surface judgments society placed upon them, illuminating who they were within. Later that week, they made their decision. Standing in front of a small gathering of close friends in a local park instead of the grand country club, they exchanged vows under a canopy of soft fairy lights. Eleanor's heart raced, not from grandeur, but from the simple purity of the moment, the genuine joy radiating between them, challenging and defiant against societal standards. Yet, as they shared their first kiss as a married couple, the sound of clapping faded, replaced by murmuring whispers drifting through the crowd. Eleanor's mother and the core of her family stood at the edge of the park, their faces a tapestry of disbelief and hurt. The chasm between Eleanor's past and her present felt devastatingly wide as the realization of their presence sank in. Marcus squeezed Eleanor's hand, grounding her. But in that moment, doubt threaded through her heart. Would this seal their love or shatter her family's bond forever? Just as they turned to the crowd, ready to face the consequences, Marcus whispered in her ear, "Whatever happens, remember we made this choice together." Eleanor's breath caught in her throat, caught between love and fear. With her family's judgment hanging in the air, a storm approached, threatening to engulf them. Would love prove strong enough to withstand the brutality of those who could only see the world in black and white? As Eleanor and Marcus faced the impending storm, she could only hope that their love would not just endure, but thrive amidst the chaos. Would they be able to build a bridge between the worlds that threatened to tear them apart? Or would the weight of judgment prove too great? The answer rested ahead, but their journey had only just begun. The murmurs from the crowd felt like a chilling wind against Eleanor's skin. The stares were like daggers, piercing through the joyful bubble they had created just moments before. Her mother's expression was carved with disbelief, and behind her, the rest of her family mirrored a mixture of shock and disappointment. Eleanor squeezed Marcus's hand tighter, anchoring herself to him, her heart pounding erratically. "Hey," he whispered, his voice soft yet strong, "we're still us. That hasn't changed." Eleanor looked into his eyes, searching for reassurance. She found it there, steadfast and unwavering. But the noise around them grew louder, a cacophony that threatened to drown out what mattered most. "Who does she think she is?" A voice cut through the growing tension, and suddenly, the crowd's judgment was no longer a distant buzz, but a reality slapping against her face. It was a member of her family, her aunt, to be precise, someone whose opinions could ignite a wildfire of disdain. Eleanor felt her stomach twist. They had come so far, risked so much. Yet here, lighter than air joy fumbled against the heavy weight of expectations. "Maybe we should talk to them," Marcus said, his eyes flicking toward the tension at the fringes of the park where her family hovered like storm clouds, ready to unleash their storm of despair. Eleanor closed her eyes briefly, drawing in a breath. Could they stand there and try to explain a love they had both fought so hard for? Or would she crumble under the pressure of their disdain? "Let us face them together," she said, feeling the resolve strengthen within her. Marcus nodded, a hint of pride mixed with concern flashing across his features, and together they took a step forward. As they approached, the atmosphere thickened. Worry and disapproval floated through the air, palpable and stifling. Eleanor held Marcus's hand tightly, drawing courage from his presence. Quiet murmurs cut through the silence, almost in rhythm with the gentle rustling of leaves above. "Eleanor, is this really what you want?" Her mother's voice trembled, demand punctuated with an undertone of sadness. "You're throwing away everything we've built for something so foolish. You're better than this." The words hit Eleanor like a slap. Were they foolish? Was this love she felt in the depths of her soul truly worth the chaos it stirred? She hesitated, glancing at Marcus, who stood beside her, firm and confident. "Mom," Eleanor began, her voice quaking before she steadied herself, "you don't understand. This isn't throwing anything away. This is me finally choosing what makes me happy. This is about love, a love that sees past the surface of our lives." Gasps rippled through the small crowd, but she pressed on. "I know this isn't what you hoped for me. But Marcus is not just some homeless man. He is kind, driven, and he sees me, really sees me. That has always been more than enough." "Love doesn't pay the bills, Eleanor," her aunt interjected, venom lacing her words. "Maybe not," Marcus said. His voice rose, resonating with strength. "But this love has shown us both who we are. A love that can withstand the judgment and the whispers, that's worth more than gold." Eleanor felt her pulse race, exhilaration flooding through her as she witnessed thousands of unsaid words erupt from Marcus's heart. He was defending not just her choice, but defending them, pushing back against the storm that threatened to tear them asunder. Silence settled in the midst of the chaos around them. "What will it take for you to see that?" Eleanor pleaded, her voice softer now, almost breaking. That's when a small voice chimed in from the back. It was Sophie, her youngest cousin, clutching a stuffed animal. "I think it's cool you got married. I want to be brave like you." Even amidst the harsh glares, a few chuckles broke through the tension, lifting the weight by a notch. But Eleanor knew the fight had just begun. As they stood there, at the crossroads of acceptance and rejection, Eleanor realized this moment mattered. It was the pivot point of their journey. Would they be brave enough to face what came next? Her gaze flicked toward Marcus, who flashed her a reassuring smile infused with unwavering belief, as if to say, "Whatever happens next, we face it together." Eleanor felt a swell in her heart, but uncertainty lingered in the air. What would they face now, love or rejection? Would her family loosen their grip on tradition, or would they dig in even deeper? Just then, Eleanor's mother looked at her, a flicker of something unreadable passing across her face. "We can't just ignore this." "Then let us talk," Eleanor urged, determination blazing in her chest. Would they be willing to open their hearts? Or would the divide grow ever deeper? A unity of old beliefs and new choices now hung in balance. They were standing at the edge of something monumental, ready to leap or fall midway between love and judgment. Would they soar, or would they crash? The answer lingered, just out of reach. Eleanor's heart raced as her mother's words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken expectations. She felt Marcus's grip tighten around her hand, a silent promise that they wouldn't face this alone. Her family had always valued tradition, a construct that offered stability but often suffocated true happiness. "What do you want to talk about?" Eleanor asked, her voice steadier than she felt. The crowd seemed to lean in, caught in the tension. Her mother's eyes shimmered with an emotion Eleanor couldn't quite place. Was it anger, concern, or something deeper? Her mother took a deep breath, glancing at each family member, gauging the atmosphere before finally settling her gaze on Eleanor. "You're our daughter. All we've ever wanted is to see you happy. But this is a lot. We just worry." "I know you do," Eleanor interrupted, her confidence building. "But happiness doesn't always come from what you expect. It comes from what we choose for ourselves." The murmurs around them seemed to halt, stunned into silence. Eleanor's aunt crossed her arms, a defense against the vulnerability she'd just exposed. Marcus cleared his throat, stepping slightly in front of Eleanor, a shield from the impending storm of criticism. "Eleanor is right," he said, his voice firm yet gentle. "I understand how this looks. I know I don't fit your picture of comfort or safety, but I love her fiercely. I would never make her choose between her family and me. I only want to grow with her. Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes, tinged with gratitude and disbelief. Could this actually work? Would this be the moment where her family began to see Marcus for who he truly was? A soft sob broke the silence. It was her mother, finally letting her armor down. It's just so difficult to see you stepping into the unknown. You've always followed the rules, Eleanor. Her mother's voice trembled, and for a second, the weight of familial expectations seemed to shift, opening up a space for understanding. And what if I told you those rules never felt right? Eleanor said, her heart pounding. Maybe, just maybe, it's time for some new ones. Ones that embrace love over fear. The crowd shifted again, people exchanging glances. Her cousin Sophie, still clutching her stuffed animal, looked up at Eleanor with a wide smile, admiration shining in her young eyes. I like you, Eleanor. You're brave. A chuckle rippled through the crowd, breaking the thick tension slightly. Eleanor's aunt shifted uncomfortably, her lips pursed, but her eyes softening. Brave doesn't always mean wise, she mumbled, but Eleanor heard the cracks in her aunt's facade. And maybe being wise doesn't always mean being happy, Marcus replied, tilting his head slightly as he challenged the unspoken beliefs that had confined them. Eleanor felt the ground beneath her shifting. Would they begin to perceive her choice differently? Would her family realize that bravery often redefined what it meant to build a life together? Even amidst chaos, silence lingered again, but this time it was charged with possibilities rather than judgment. Eleanor inhaled deeply, sensing a wave of hope washing over her. Let us talk. Really talk, she suggested, her voice ringing clear. Let us share our fears and dreams. Her mother nodded slowly, appearing to wrestle with her emotions. If we're going to do this, we need to be honest. All of us. The weight of those words pressed heavily on Eleanor, a challenge laden with the promise of breakthroughs, but also the potential for pain. But she was ready. She would fight for her love, for this life she was carving out of the shadows. As the discussion began, Eleanor realized they had a long road ahead, but for the first time, she felt maybe, just maybe, her family could bridge the gap between their traditions and her truth. What lay ahead could either mend their fractured connections or deepen the clefts. The stakes were higher than ever, and she was terrified but exhilarated all the same. In that moment, as emotions swirled around them, Eleanor wondered, would they finally allow their hearts to break open? Or would they cling to the past, unwilling to embrace the love that surged between them? The conversation unfolded slowly, each word a tentative step into uncharted territory. Eleanor could feel the air thicken with anticipation. Her mother wiped her eyes and took a deep breath, signaling a willingness to peel back layers that had long veiled their family dynamic. All right, she began, her voice wavering between resolve and uncertainty. What do you want, Eleanor? What truth are you seeking? Eleanor's heart fluttered. This was the moment. I want a family that understands love always wrapped in familiar packages. It's messy and sometimes uncomfortable, but it's real. She glanced at Marcus, who nodded slightly, his gaze unwavering. You are my daughter, her mother said sharply. You know we just want what's best for you. And what's best often comes from our traditions. Eleanor could feel those words prickling at her skin. But Mom, what if those traditions aren't best for me? They may have molded you, but they don't fit me the same way. A tension rippled through the crowd. Her father, who had been quiet, finally spoke up, his voice steady but strained. We all live within the framework set by this family, he remarked sharply, glancing at Marcus. I can't just let you throw it away for someone who what? Marcus interjected, the warmth in his voice replaced by a defensive edge. Who doesn't fit your idea of success? Your vision of stability? Eleanor felt adrenaline surge. She had always been the dutiful daughter, the one who obeyed quietly. But now, she felt emboldened by the love that surrounded her. Marcus's faced struggles that many wouldn't understand. He fought for his place in the world. Isn't that strength worth more than some predetermined status? The crowd shifted again, and Eleanor noticed her cousin Sophie, tiny yet fierce, standing taller with every word. Yeah, you guys could learn something from him. You don't need a perfect prince. You need someone who cares. Eleanor's aunt sighed, looking between Marcus and Eleanor with dawning realization. I always thought I was protecting you, she muttered slowly. But maybe I was just holding on to my own fears. Eleanor felt something shift. The room hummed with the weight of unspoken fears and dreams. Mom, Dad, we can create new traditions together. Inclusion and growth over exclusion and expectations, Eleanor said fervently. Let us redefine family together. Her mother's eyes shimmered again, the flicker of vulnerability opening a new dialogue. Eleanor, if we let you carve your own path, can you promise to let us in? Will you teach us? Eleanor exhaled slowly, considering. I want more than anything to share this journey with you. But it may mean facing uncomfortable truths. Like what? Her father asked, sincerity etched into the furrows of his forehead. Like addressing the fear we all carry, fear of failure, fear of change, and fear of love that looks different than we expected. The air shifted as pieces began to fall into place. Conversations stirred among family members. Gradual nods followed Eleanor's words, hesitantly at first, but growing stronger. Courage isn't easy, but neither is staying quiet, Marcus added. His voice was steady now, matching Eleanor's heart. Together, we can explain what it means to fight for love. Eleanor's stomach flip-flopped with a mix of anticipation and dread. She had opened the door just a crack, but would they walk through? Or would they let the hinges creak under the weight of their fears? A murmur of consensus started to rise, each family member weighing their own choices. Eleanor could see the glimmer of potential lighting up their faces, but a glint of hesitation still lingered. Her heart pounded as the sense of possibility wrapped around her. It felt hopeful yet uncertain. Would they extend their hands towards the change, or would they retreat to the safety of tradition's embrace? Eleanor took a deep breath, the moment pregnant with potential. This was just the beginning. But would their love be enough to light the way forward? As the room echoed with voices, Eleanor felt a magnetic pull between hope and fear. She glanced at Marcus, who was silently urging her forward. What would they reveal next in their pursuit of authenticity, love, and connection? Eleanor could feel her heart pounding as the chatter of voices swirled around her. Some family members were nodding, their faces betraying a mix of surprise and contemplation. Others looked skeptical, their brows furrowed, uncertain whether they were ready to embrace this new way of thinking. It felt like standing on the edge of an emotional cliff, teetering between the past and a future she could only dream of. Can we really make new traditions? Sophie asked, her curiosity shining through the tension. Can we have a Thanksgiving without the usual family dinners? What will that even look like? Why not? Marcus replied, a smile creeping into his voice. We can use this time to be together in a way that feels right to us. A tradition can be anything we decide to make it. Eleanor glanced at her mother, who was still processing, the corners of her mouth twitching as if caught between a smile and uncertainty. We could start small, Eleanor suggested. Even just one holiday, focused on what we love about each other, rather than who we think we should be. Her father rubbed his temple, deep in thought. Change is frightening, Eleanor. But I guess it could open our eyes. What do you think, Martha? Her mother's gaze was locked on Eleanor. I think I want to learn how to support you. You're my daughter, after all. And if this is what you want, maybe I need to let go of my own ideas. A collective release of breath rippled through the family. There was a real possibility brewing in the air, an openness that had been absent for years. The tension that had once bound them like chains began to loosen. I used to believe that love just meant accepting who we are and living within the lines drawn by family. Her mother continued softly. But if we could really shift things, what might love look like beyond those boundaries? Eleanor felt warmth spread through her chest. Maybe it looks like acceptance of who we are right now, even when it challenges everything we've ever known. And then her father spoke, slowly, deliberate. If we cast aside tradition for the sake of love, we might find we're all a little more courageous than we thought. The room grew animated as family members started sharing their own fears, the fear of not being accepted, the fear of disappointing each other, even the fear of change itself. There was laughter mixed with tears, as stories poured out from corners Eleanor had never imagined. What about you, Marcus? Eleanor's cousin Sam asked, breaking through the emotional haze. What does love mean to you? Marcus leaned forward, his presence steady and strong. Love is about standing together. It's about walking with your eyes open, even in the darkest times. It's fighting when things get tough and celebrating every inch of progress. Eleanor felt a swell of pride wash over her, seeing the respect in her family's eyes as they listened to Marcus, as if he had unlocked something inside them. He wasn't just a stranger anymore. He was part of their story. Okay, Eleanor's aunt finally said, her voice laced with deep emotion. Let us do this. Let us build something new together. A family that thrives in acceptance, but also dares to grow. With that, laughter and chatter surged again, a beautiful cacophony of hope and possibility filling the room. Eleanor realized they were all standing at the start of something new, a reconstruction of the heart of their family. As they talked about the first non-traditional holiday they could share, Eleanor felt her heart swell with joy. She had dared to challenge the notion of family, and in return, it seemed they were finally ready to embrace her truth. But then, amid the laughter and plans, an unfamiliar figure at the window caught her eye, a stranger, pale and standing outside, watching intently. She felt a sudden chill. Who was he? And why did he make her feel like something was amiss? Eleanor's heart raced as she exchanged worried glances with Marcus. What new challenge was awaiting them? And what secrets did this stranger hold? Eleanor's heart thudded in her chest, her mind racing as she tried to make sense of the pale figure outside. The vibrant discussions around her faded into a blur, replaced by the eerie tension that clung to her like a heavy fog. Who was he? What brought him to their door? The warmth of family and celebration felt fragile in the presence of this stranger. Did you see that? Marcus whispered, leaning closer. His breath was a mix of curiosity and concern. Yeah, who is he? Eleanor tried to keep her voice steady, but it trembled. The stranger's eyes seemed to pierce right through the gathering, as if he was hunting for something hidden in their midst. Maybe it's just someone looking for help, Marcus suggested softly. But the unease creeping over Eleanor told her it was more than that. This was not a mere passerby. Slowly, she got up from her chair, the fabric of her dress rustling softly in the hush that began to settle around her. The laughter faded into cautious whispers, and all eyes followed her as she moved toward the window. Standing there, she studied the stranger. His hair was unkempt, framing a face lined with the kind of hardship she recognized but couldn't articulate. There was an intensity in his gaze, and it sent a shiver down her spine. Why did he look so familiar? Eleanor pressed her forehead against the cool glass, trying to gauge his intentions. He didn't flinch or turn away, his eyes locked on hers with a sense of inevitability. A fear gripped her heart. What if he had come to deliver news that would shatter this fragile moment of hope? Eleanor? It was her mother's voice, cracking through the uncertainty. Is everything all right? I don't know yet, Eleanor replied, her voice barely above a whisper. As she turned back to her family, she saw their expressions mirror the worry swirling in her own thoughts. I'm going to go outside and talk to him, she declared, surprising herself with her own determination. Are you sure? Marcus reached out, concern etched in his features. Yeah, she said, steadying her resolve. Before anyone could argue, she stepped outside into the crisp air, the chill biting at her skin. She approached the stranger cautiously, each step measured with both fear and curiosity. When she was close enough to see the weary lines of his face, her heart dropped. Do we know each other? She whispered, her voice trembling. I think you do, he replied, his voice low and gravelly. The hint of recognition flickered in his eyes. You won't remember me, but I've been watching all of you waiting. His words hung heavily in the air between them. Waiting for what? Eleanor felt a mix of dread and intrigue. For the right moment to tell you the truth, he said, and she noticed the urgency in his tone. Your family's traditions? They involve more than you know, and they've haunted me for years. What do you mean? Her heart raced faster, anxiety clawing at her insides. Eleanor, there are secrets in your family, deep ones that stretch back generations. He hesitated, seeming to weigh his words. If you don't confront them, they'll tear all of this apart, your new traditions, everything you're trying to build. The weight of his revelation hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Eleanor felt her mind swirl. Could it be true? What kind of secrets? Before she could process the enormity of his words, the wind rustled, swirling memories she thought were buried. What lay behind those haunting eyes? Please, he urged, desperation edging his voice. You need to understand before it's too late. With a tremor in her heart, Eleanor realized this was just the beginning of a much deeper journey, a dive into her family's past that could unravel everything she held dear. Could she handle the truth? And as she stood at the brink of this new revelation, uncertainty clawed at her. What more was she about to uncover? Eleanor's heart raced as the stranger's words echoed in her mind. Secrets? What could be hidden behind the walls of laughter and love that filled her home just moments before? The thrill and fear gnawed at her, pushing her to dig deeper. She sensed a heavy truth waiting to emerge, and with every ticking second, it grew more urgent. "Who are you?" Eleanor asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "Why should I believe you?" He stepped closer, pulling his hands from his pockets. "My name is Jacob," he said, his gaze unwavering, "and I have been searching for you and your family. The truth, I can't let it slip even further into the dark." Eleanor studied him. There was sincerity in his weary eyes, a flicker of something familiar. Perhaps a shared pain or memory. What truth? She pressed, her curiosity overpowering her fear. "Your family's traditions. They aren't just celebrations. They're binders, tying you to a past filled with shadows. Shadows that want to reclaim what was lost." Eleanor felt an unexpected chill sweep over her, as if a gust of cold air carried whispers from generations before. "And what does that mean for me?" she asked, her mind racing through the moments of her life that felt unsteady or just out of reach. "It means your happiness may be at risk," Jacob said, urgency sharp in his voice. "There's a history of events, clashes of fate, that have made your family what it is today. And if you don't confront them, if you don't bring light to the hidden corners, you might lose it all." "Look, I don't know what you're talking about," Eleanor admitted, a mixture of frustration and fear flooding her. "This is my home. My family. We're happy. I won't let you disrupt that." "Disrupt?" "Eleanor, I don't want to disrupt anything. I want to help you understand so you can truly protect what you have," Jacob said, stepping even closer. The seriousness etched on his face softened with a hint of pleading. Before she could respond, the muffled laughter from inside faded into silence, drawing both of their attention. It was as if the festivity had sensed the shift in energy and chose that moment to pause, leaving an atmosphere tinged with raw emotions. "Please," he continued, "your family's legacy is not just about joy. It's also about sacrifice, loss, and, yes, love. But bound in all of that are shadows, things that need to be addressed. You must know your history, Eleanor." Suddenly, a realization hit her like a wave. "You're saying my family has a dark past? That's absurd. We've worked hard to create something beautiful here." Anger bubbled up within her, clashing with the growing unease. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I once lost everything to those shadows," Jacob replied softly, his voice cracking with emotion. "I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. I've spent years running trying to break free, and now I'm back, ready to face it. With you. If you'll let me." A flicker of vulnerability crossed his face, and Eleanor's heart softened, drawn to the pain woven into his words. He was here for a reason. After all, wasn't he? Perhaps he could be a key to uncovering whatever darkness lay beneath the surface. As the silence stretched between them, Eleanor wrestled with her thoughts. Part of her wanted to shut him out, to protect her family from any potential threat. But another part deep inside felt the pull of curiosity and the need to know. Taking a deep breath, she finally said, "What do I need to do?" Jacob glanced around, and their surroundings seemed to close in, intensifying the moment. "We need to start from the beginning, I'll show you." Eleanor nodded slightly, her body tingling with a mix of apprehension and anticipation. Suddenly, the heaviness of the conversation felt lighter, almost enlightening. But everything was about to change, and as she stepped into the unknown future ahead of her, she couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was going to unveil itself in ways she never expected. What secrets lurked just beneath her reality? As the air grew thicker with uncertainty, she braced herself for a journey that could unravel her whole life. And, with that step into the shadows, Eleanor couldn't help but wonder if her family's traditions were stitched together by love or laced with pain. Would she be brave enough to face what lay ahead? The dim light surrounding them felt charged, almost electric, as Eleanor made her choice. With her heart thundering in her chest, she glanced back at the vibrant life inside, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that lay before her. Would stepping into the shadows expose her to a bitter truth, or could it lead her deeper into her family's legacy? "All right," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Let us start from the beginning." Jacob's expression shifted into a mix of relief and determination. The first thing you need to understand is where your family comes from. There are roots that run deep, and they tell stories that shape who we are. He gestured for her to follow, leading her away from the warmth of home, down a narrow path enveloped by overgrown hedges. Each step felt like leaving behind a slice of her old life. The laughter from her family faded, replaced by the rustling leaves and distant calls of night creatures. "You don't have to be afraid," Jacob reassured her as they walked. "Finding out the truth can be difficult, but it also leads to freedom. You'll see." "What sort of freedom?" Eleanor asked, frowning. "The freedom that comes when you understand the shadows," he replied. "They hold power over us, often without us even realizing it. I thought I could escape my past, but the more I ran, the more entwined I became. I don't want that for you." They arrived at the edge of a clearing, where the trees parted to reveal an old stone structure draped in vines and thyme. The crumbling walls exuded an air of forgotten stories, their secrets entangled with the moonlight spilling through. "What is this place?" Eleanor asked, all mingling with trepidation. "This is your family's history," Jacob said, his voice low. "Many generations ago, this was a gathering place, a site of both celebration and mourning. It was where families came to connect with their ancestors, to remember what they had lost, to honor what they were. Why haven't I ever heard of it? Why hasn't my family come back?" Eleanor pressed. "That's just it," Jacob said, his eyes glinting with intensity. "Parts of your family's history were buried to protect you. But sometimes, when we hide from the past, it's waiting, lurking, ready to resurface. We must deal with it or risk repeating mistakes." Eleanor felt a shiver trace her spine as he spoke. The weight of her legacy began to settle in her chest, and the uncertainty of what lay ahead threatened to overwhelm her. Yet, there was a spark of conviction in Jacob's gaze that compelled her forward. "What do we do here?" she asked, her heart heavy yet strangely hopeful. "We're going to unveil what your family lost. We'll search for the truth, together. Only then can you truly decide how it fits into the person you are and the family you want to protect." Eleanor nodded, although a small part of her still hesitated. What if the shadows revealed something darker than she could bear? But she knew she could no longer dance around the truth. It was time to embrace the unknown. As she stepped closer to the stone structure, the air grew thick, as if the walls themselves were breathing in anticipation of their explorations. What secrets waited for them inside? What pieces of her family's story would she discover? Her body tingled, caught between fear and excitement. They were on the verge of something significant, and the culmination of her family's past beckoned her to walk through the doorway of discovery. As she reached out to touch the stone, a sudden chill spiraled through her, a reminder that shaking hands with history often comes with a price. Would facing the shadows and the stones bring her closer to her family, or expose cracks that could shatter everything she held dear? Eleanor inhaled deeply, preparing for whatever awaited her on the other side. The real journey was just beginning. But as she turned to Jacob, their eyes locked in determination, she knew one thing. She had to find out, no matter the cost. And with that thought lingering like a whisper in the wind, they stepped inside, ready to confront the past. But what awaited them could change everything they thought they knew, or worse, raise questions they never expected to face. Would the truth heal, or would it pierce even deeper than the shadows themselves? Eleanor stood before the ancient stone structure, the night's chill wrapping around her like a shroud. With Jacob by her side, they stepped inside. The air was thick with dust, the scent of damp earth and the remnants of time itself. A flicker of fear danced in Eleanor's heart, but she clung to a thread of courage. As they moved deeper into the darkness, their footsteps echoed against the walls. Shadows shifted, wrapping around forgotten memories. "What are we looking for?" Eleanor whispered, her voice trembling against the weight of the unknown. "Anything that connects you to the past," Jacob replied, his own voice steady despite the thick tension surrounding them. "There could be journals, artifacts, anything your family kept hidden." Eleanor felt the walls breathe in rhythm with her heartbeat. Suddenly, something glimmered in a corner, catching her eye. She knelt down, brushing away layers of dust to reveal a small wooden box. Her fingers quivered as she lifted it, and a sense of nostalgia washed over her. "I've never seen this before." "Open it," Jacob urged gently. Eleanor hesitated, the weight of the moment almost too heavy to bear. What if it reveals something I'm not ready to hear? Sometimes the truths we fear the most are the ones that set us free, he said. With a deep breath, Eleanor unlocked the clasp. Inside lay an assortment of yellowed papers, photographs, and trinkets. As she unfolded the first paper, her breath caught in her throat. It was a letter from a distant relative detailing struggles, heartbreaks, and choices made long ago, choices echoed in her own life. Eleanor, Jacob said softly, his voice urging her to continue. What does it say? Tears pricked her eyes as she read aloud. We cannot escape the shadows nor erase our past. Our family has grappled with loss and love intertwined, urging each generation to face what haunts us. Only through acceptance can we heal. Each word resonated, sending shivers down her spine. She looked up at Jacob, who nodded. It sounds like the struggles of your present are tied to their past. Eleanor felt the weight of generations rest on her shoulders, and she could no longer run from it. As she sifted through more documents, revelations tumbled forth: family feuds, sacrifices that had forced them apart, and truths buried to protect the sanctity of the name. She felt a pang of connection, a sense that the very love she was fighting for was a thread binding her to those who had come before. Jacob, she said, her fingers trembling over a photograph, they lived through heartache too. Why weren't we told? Because truth can be a burden. But look around you, Eleanor. Keeping it hidden only perpetuates the cycle. There was a softness in his eyes. Now you have a choice. You can share these truths with your family and help them understand that love can exist despite our histories. It felt as if a dam had broken. Eleanor's heart opened wide, aching for what could be a new tradition born not from denial, but from truth. After gathering her strength, Eleanor stood, clutching the box against her chest. We have to go back. I need them to see what I've found, and I need them to understand why this matters. Together, they raced back to the warmth of the gathering, the rhythmic sound of laughter penetrating the shadows that had encroached upon her heart. As they entered the room, Eleanor felt the shift in energy. Family members paused their conversations, eyes turning towards her with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Eleanor? Her mother asked, worry etched across her face. Taking a deep breath, Eleanor stepped into the center and raised the box, grounding herself with firmness. I found this, she began, the weight of her family's past fueling her voice, and it reveals how deeply intertwined we all are: our struggles and love, our fears, our joys. We can change the path if we face the truth together. Shocked silence enveloped the room. Faces shifted from confusion to understanding as they processed her words. These letters, these artifacts, they show that our family hasn't always been perfect. But our history matters. It can teach us. It doesn't have to tear us apart. With Jacob beside her, Eleanor shared her discoveries, the words flowing like a healing balm over her family. She saw tears in her mother's eyes as she began to grasp the depth of generations that had sacrificed, endured, and strived for a brighter future. This brings us closer, doesn't it? Eleanor continued, the weight of shame lifting as hope ignited in her heart. We can redefine our traditions together, knowing who we are and where we came from. Slowly, her mother nodded, emotions spilling from her eyes. I never understood the depth of our past. I see that now. A collective sigh coursed through the room, recognition dawning among her family members. Marcus stepped forward, a serene expression on his face. True love thrives on honesty and understanding. Unraveling our histories doesn't destroy, it strengthens. With that, voices began to uplift, some sharing their own fears and stories, creating an atmosphere charged with possibility and understanding. The laughter returned, but this time, it felt different: empowered, liberated, authentic. The transformation within that small gathering was palpable. The shadows that once loomed faded, overshadowed by the light of togetherness, and Eleanor realized they were no longer mere family members, they were allies, ready to forge a future unbound by fear. As they embraced this new legacy, Eleanor took a moment to look around at the faces she loved most. Each one teemed with recognition, connection, and love, a canvas of possibilities yet to unfold. They had found their way back to one another, strength emerging from vulnerability. Eleanor's heart swelled with hope. Together, they could combine their strengths, bridging the gaps left by the shadows of the past. But it all began there. That night of unveiling truths, a definitive moment marking the beginning of their collective journey. As love poured through the cracks, they learned how to build new traditions together so their laughter could carry through generations to come. And just like that, Eleanor emerged victorious not just as a bride, but as a woman rooted in powerful love, carrying the torch for a legacy brimmed with understanding and acceptance. In that profound unity, Eleanor smiled, realizing they had illuminated the darkest corners of their family's history and were ready to embrace whatever came next together. Now, this is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive story. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Each click helps others discover this inspiring journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans recognize the value of supporting us through these actions. Now go on and spread the word.